How's it going, everyone? I hope you are having a fantastic day. You know, there are a great many things to misunderstand about D&D 5e. It is a game that is built around heavy improv storytelling. There are 1,000,001 rules to memorize, and how those rules are implemented change from table to table, DM to DM, and player group to player group. So it makes sense that there would be some things that need some clarification, and today we are going to be talking about something that is staring you right in the face every time you create a D&D character. Something that I often hear my players voicing confusion about, or misunderstanding, or just straight up ignoring because it seems like something that isn't that important. We are going to be talking about the handy dandy section on the front page of the character sheet. That's right, the stuff on the right. Specifically, we are going to be talking about the one at the very bottom. We're going to be talking about flaws and their purpose in 5e. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just wanted to remind everyone to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really does help us out, and not to mention, it's just a lot of fun going through comments and just seeing interaction with the video. Join Discord, follow Twitch, all that good stuff, yada yada yada. You've heard it a million times before. Without further ado, let's get into it. So to start off our conversation on flaws, I figured there would be no better place to start than the PHB. Quote, choose a flaw for your character. Your character's flaw represents some vice, compulsion, fear, or weakness. In particular, anything that someone else could exploit to bring you to ruin or cause you to act against your best interests. More significant than negative personality traits, a flaw might answer any of these following questions. What enrages you? What's the one person, concept, or event that you are terrified of? What are your vices? That definition of flaws on page 124 of the PHB gives us a solid foundation to build from, and is honestly a pretty good definition. However, it leaves something to be desired relative to application and really understanding how you use that in play and why you would even need something like that on your character sheet. So let's condense down the PHB's definition of a flaw into a clear, concise definition that tells you the purpose that flaws serve in the game of D&D. You ready for it? Flaws are a negative character attribute that you wish to address in-game. Bam! That's it. Using this definition, players will find themselves freed up with a lot more opportunity relative to backstory and RP. Because if I see a flaw on your character sheet, I interpret that is something that you want to be addressed at some point in game, if not corrected. And this is very, very important to acknowledge, because there are some negative character traits that are really fun to play out and are a core part of a character that you don't want the DM to touch or you don't want to fix because it's a core part of who the character is. Let me give you a couple of examples. Jack Sparrow is a raging alcoholic. There is never a point where he is not on something or he is not drunk. He has a lot of other character flaws, but that is one that is never addressed. Why is the rum gone? He's always drinking something. Can you imagine a sober Jack Sparrow? If you were playing Captain Jack Sparrow in a D&D game, you would not put alcoholic under his flaws, even if in real life you would consider that to be a flaw. Putting it down on flaws signals to the DM that this is something that you want to change. And can you imagine Jack Sparrow not talking like a slurred drunkard, instead just maybe talking posh and maybe putting on a suit? Oh, I'm sorry, I gave up the drink a long time ago. That's not Jack Sparrow anymore at that point. There are some flaws that are just inherently a core part of characters that you don't want to fix, and if that is the case, you put it under a different section of the character sheet. You put it in personality traits. Even if it is something that is traditionally negative in your mind, or maybe everyone else's at the table's mind, putting it in personality traits signals that I want to play this kind of character, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a game. Enjoy playing the drunkard Jack Sparrow. That is a really fun archetype to play. Let me give you another example. Death cannot stop true love. Wesley in Princess Bride is a hopeless romantic that, if put in a real-world context, would be seen as a buffoon. There is no way that someone with just that view on life would get by and honestly would have a, what I would consider, healthy relationship. But in the genre, in the story that is The Princess Bride, he fits perfectly. He has an undying love for Buttercup, and he will conquer his enemies through the power of true love. And in D&D, you can have a character like that too. That's not a flaw. Even if you put it in a different context, it becomes a flaw. That's something that you want to be incorporated front and center in the game. You don't want to touch that because then it's no longer Wesley. Can you imagine if at the end of Princess Bride, like, you know, when he's laying on the bed, he just looks at Buttercup's eyes like, "Oh, Wesley, my darling." He's like, "Don't call me that. I realize now, finally, that the concept of true love is actually quite toxic, and I was projecting an ideal onto you, and I am so sorry for that, and I realized that I didn't actually get a chance to know you because I just saw you as something that you weren't. So I am ever so sorry, but I think we need to reset from the beginning. I would love to get to know you again." Both the audience and Buttercup, and probably if you were playing this in D&D, your DM and your players at the table would like look at you side eyes like, "What?" Like, you know, as a DM, if I see something listed in the flaws section of your character sheet, I assume that that is fair game to mess with and to present in a negative light. And to just shine a spotlight on the humanity of the character that you're playing. Even if you're not playing a human, every character should represent some facet of humanity just because we're human. That's just naturally what's going to happen. And to wrap up this video, I want to just lend a short little bit of warning to those folks that hoard flaws like sacred treasures. 50 that list 50 flaws on your character sheet but leave the personality traits, ideals, and bonds just barren. You are a single player at the table, and unless you are playing a one-on-one, you don't have time to address a lot of flaws. So, generally speaking, keep it to like 1, 2, or if you really want to push it, 3 flaws that you want to address at some point in game, because otherwise you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, because honestly there probably won't be that much time to fully explore these flaws in game. It's something that can backfire or sabotage the game experience because you're trying to express flaws so much that it kind of gets in the way of the heroic vibe of the game. It's something that is a whole video in and of itself, but the long and short of it, less is more when it comes to flaws. I would rather really delve into a single flaw and get to the root of that than have a character that is just flawed left, right, and center. So that's that. Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you liked what you saw or agreed with anything I said, disagreed with anything that I said, or have your own stories that you would like to share, feel free to leave a comment down below or join our Discord if you want a little more direct communication with me or other members of this awesome and growing community. You are all fucking awesome, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Cheers.